Welcome to the Lucky Kiwi
Podcast.
Sala Baker
Edition.
How have the movies and books of Lord of the Rings impacted my life? Oh boy, let me tell you. Roll the tape back to 2002. I was 11 years old. My dad had bought us the Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring on DVD for Christmas. I had never heard of Lord of the Rings before. I didn't know what this was, so we put it on. Immediately, I fell in love with it. Not only did I fall in love with the characters and the world of Tolkien and Middle-earth and everything about it, but I also fell in love with filmmaking itself. I was so enthralled and encaptured by how they filmed this movie, so real and with such practical effects. I just remember asking my dad like hundreds of questions. How do they do that? How do they do the forced perspective? How do they make the orcs look like that? That's makeup? How do they do that? How do they make the armor? This looks so real. I never had felt that way about a movie before. And something like sparked inside of me, and that's when I knew that I also wanted to make movies and make films. Pretty much the rest is history. Like, it has completely changed my life. As you can see, I have a lot of Lord of the Rings merch and art and props and autographs and photos and everything. I even went on a 2.5-week trip to New Zealand in 2023 and got to visit all of the places that they filmed, which was just, for me, like the most amazing thing I've ever done in my whole life. Lord of the Rings has been such an influential part of my life because it has helped shape who I am. Not just the books and the stories, but the filmmaking and the movie itself, I think specifically, helped shape who I am. I don't think I would be the Zach that I am today if not for those films. So I think Peter Jackson, I think everybody involved for making those films, which what feels like for me, because it literally changed my life, and it's what made me want to become a filmmaker. My goal right now is to someday get to meet and shake Peter Jackson's hand so I can thank him personally and have him sign my very first camera that I ever had, because when I was a kid, after I watched the movies for the first time, I made my own Lord of the Rings movie in the backyard at like 12 years old, and it was not great, but it was so much fun. It took us 6 months to film, and this is the camera that we filmed it on. And to have Peter Jackson sign this, I think, would be like such a meaningful thing for me, and because it just, again, it shaped who I am today. So I think I'm someday hopefully going to make that happen. And that is what these books and especially these movies mean to me. It was my introduction to Tolkien, and it was the introduction to filmmaking, and it helped shape who I am today. Now, Mr. Brophy, I do have a very good question for you, I think. I don't know if you've ever been asked this or not yet. Probably have. Out of all the characters that you played in both the Hobbit movies and the Lord of the Rings movies, was there anything that you brought to your characters that maybe wasn't in the script or wasn't written down as part of your character that you kind of brought on your own, that like Peter Jackson or everybody was like, that was amazing, do that again, or something like that? Was there anything that you brought that was your own to any of your characters or all of your characters? It's so cool that you got to play so many different characters. So that's my question for Mr. Brophy. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much. Bye.
All of the characters that I play, I bring a little bit of myself to. Any creature that I play sort of starts with how I believe that character might be like me or further away from me, but it always has the little kind of naughtiness and cheekiness that I have. I do know that when I was playing Schnarger, I did a little thing with these very sharp prosthetic teeth where I ran my tongue across the teeth like this. And Peter Jackson saw that and he said, yeah, it's like he's like a lizard. It's like he's tasting the air with his tongue. And that became the key to the character. And I do like to find a key for every character that I play, a little bit of me that I can key into. Playing with Nori, it's like, yeah, just a couple of keepsakes. Yeah, just a couple of keepsakes. And I say that over and over to myself, just to key myself back into the character. So that is one thing that I use. So thank you, Zach. Hope I get to meet you one day. And thank you for your question.
That's the cool thing about our films is that, you know, he shot his own film, Lord of the Rings, in the backyard. And it's those kind of moments that we get more fandom and also filmmakers and you know, people who love what we do to keep our fans going and keep them appreciative of what we've done so many years ago. So thanks, Zach. You're the man. I hope you get that signature from Peter.
Can you hear us?
Yeah. You got to turn your sound on, bro.
Hey. Oh, yeah, no, hey, that was my fault, eh?
Oh, yeah. See?
Yeah.
How are you guys?
Really good. How are you?
Oh, awesome.
Welcome to our podcast. This is the Lucky Kiwi Podcast.
Yeah. Your videos are so hilarious. Just first of all.
Oh, thank you. We're silly over here. We're very silly.
Yeah, there's nothing serious anywhere around these folks, us folks.
When did you start work on the Lord of the Rings films back in the day?
In early 1999, they were doing auditions in Wellington, obviously, as you know. And a friend of mine was like, hey, let's go audition for Lord of the Rings. And I was like, what the hell is that? Because at the time, I was a Trekkie fan. You know, I had the badge. I was a Star Trek guy. And so I had my shirt and my little Star Trek badge. And I hadn't really heard of Lord of the Rings. And so, but he was like, they're doing auditions and they're looking for, I think the description was large, 6'1" and above rugby type builds for Urukai characters in Lord of the Rings. And I was like, I don't even know what either of those things are. And so my buddy he was a bodybuilder at the time and we were staying in Mount Victoria. And he was like, I'm going to go. You want to come? And I said, nah. And basically like 4 hours of convincing me to go. And I was like, fine, I'll go. And so I went and did the audition. It was actually as an extra. And I went and auditioned and they were like, oh, cool. I think I went in 2 or 3 times as an extra. And then they said, hey, why don't you try out for the stunt team? I was like, what is that? And at the time, I didn't really know. You know, I was very new to film and television at all. And they said, it's the action team on Lord of the Rings. I said, okay, fine, whatever. So I went and auditioned for the stunt team, which happened to be like a 5-hour long audition at the barracks in Wellington. And, you know, jumping off the roof, we did fitness for an hour, we ran track, and we did all of the things. And basically, it was like a 5-hour audition. We had to do a show and tell. There was seeing what we could do with all of the activities they had us do. And at the end, they said, you have to do a show and tell. So you have to put a fight together in front of the whole stunt crew. There was 147 guys auditioning for, I think, 7 roles or 7 characters. And I had my guy and we rehearsed it and we go, okay, it's time for the show and tell. And the guy comes in and we go, okay, here coming up next is Sala, and I don't remember the guy. We start doing our fight scene and we're like 2 or 3 beats into it. The guy sucks me in the face for real. My nose starts bleeding, and I'm like, okay, cool, keep going. And the guy's like, oh, your nose is bleeding. I'm like, who cares, bro? Everyone's and but it's coming down your face. And I'm like, bro, everyone's watching. And I think it was Andy or one of the guys were like, oh, it's okay, don't worry, it's fine. And I was like, in my head, I said, you son of a biscuit, you just ruined my chances of auditioning for Lord of the Rings, the stunt team. And they were like, oh, it's fine. And at the time, I was working at a bouncer as a bouncer in opera in Wellington on Courtney Place.
I remember that.
The audition finished, and I was like really sad that this had happened, and I was like mad. And then Andy and Lani and a couple of the other guys came into my pub that night on a Friday. I think I auditioned on a Thursday. I think it was Friday or Saturday they'd come in, and I was like, hey, so what happened? Who made the team? And we didn't find out until Monday or Tuesday. And so they were like, oh, you'll be okay. They'll let you know on Monday. And I was like, oh, come on, guys. So over the night, I decided to basically get them drunk. So I said to the bartender, whenever they want to drink, just give them a shot. Just give them a shot. By the end of it, they were a little bit, relaxed, as one would say. And I'd asked Andy, I said, Andy, come on, man. Tell me, man. Did I make it or not? He was like, oh, you'll be all right. Then at the end of the night, he finally came up to me and was like, you're all good. I go, what does that mean? He's like, don't worry about it. You're all good. And the following week, I found out I'd made the team and realized I was one of the only ones who made it. Because of, I didn't want to stop. I wanted to, as Jed, just keep going, keep going and do the shot. And that's the mantra of action, to just figure it out and keep going in the shot. And so I got picked, and then they didn't have time to do another large audition. So they ended up going to a martial arts school and getting the next 5 guys, which were Moon, a couple of the guys that came in with that group that went to Queenstown. Yeah. Auditions, with Stuart Townsend at the time, in that hotel down there, as you know, Jed, the stories. So that was kind of the introduction, and it was like, okay, these were the 6 big guys that we needed to do the Urukai stunts, because everyone else was not as big to do all their action stuff, and ended up fighting, Vigo and everyone, because they needed to fight the Urukai, the bigger characters. So that was my introduction into going into my first film ever.
I mean, a lot of people don't get the experience of being on any film, but for your first experience to be on literally the biggest trilogy on the planet, not just then, but, probably ever shot in terms of the scale of what we tried to do. It's hard to explain to people how small the industry in New Zealand was before that, and just how it had to grow kind of overnight. And people like yourself who, as you say, you were on the door of a pub, and the next thing you're on this massive project. It's everybody had to upskill. Everybody in the industry had to find new ways of working out the new craft that they had. I know people who were clapper loaders who became camera operators who became first and second unit DOPs. John Mahaffey, who was one of our most skilled Steadicam operators, became second unit director. And that was all just because the industry had to kind of grow overnight. And so you were in the right place at the right time with the right look and the right build and the right skills.
I say it a lot, and I mentioned this, a lot. It was a traveling circus, and we had to figure it out together as a crew and group of people who hadn't been on. I mean, at the time, we kind of didn't know it was going to be that big, but we did know kind of thing, but it was whether it was going to live up to expectations or not. But again, Kiwis are always, to me, are like, oh, it's all good, we'll just figure it out. And we get in there and we come together and we help each other out, and get the best out of each other. And that, I think, being that crew that traveled throughout the whole country for 19 months, shooting 3 films at once, I think to me, that's what made the success so not easy, but cohesive, because it was every hour of the day. We were doing 20-hour days together. We would go home, shower up, and then we would all go out to dinner together. We would go and enjoy entertainment together. And then the next morning, it was like back to it. And that just kept happening. And we got to know each other really quick and really fast and learn everything together. And I think that was why the films did so well, because we all knew each other so well, from not knowing each other to like living and breathing and getting hurt and figuring things out and you know, making the best out of what we had, and who we had to do that with became the I think the joint success of the whole cast and crew that made it happen.
Yeah, I agree.
I was just wondering, what's one sensory memory from those films that never left you?
It was the happiness after the tough times, because when you're in the battle together, when you're especially doing action with Jed and a couple of the other actors with Vigo, and you know, a lot of the cast that we did get hurt and we did get beat down, run over by horses, knocked down. It was like getting in the danger of it all, and then kind of having that after it, go talk about it and kind of laugh, but also kind of intermingle those stories. And like Jed was there with us, you know, it was like a family, that the feeling of like we all went through that together. Okay, tomorrow's another day. And that for me was like the ups and downs became the best. Like, you know, saving each other from getting hurt, or, you know, like that feeling of like, man, we just got to figure this out. We got a lot of stuff to do today. But like with this crew, you end up after like doing everything together, you become this bond that, you know, deep down inside is like, wow, I can trust these guys with everything. And then go and laugh and have a meal and have a drink and talk about it and learn together, and then like go into it again knowing that, okay, we've got these people who we trust with not only our bodies and our, you know, it's with every scene that, you know, when you see, like, you know, I was new to acting and stunts and doing all of that, but when you see other guys doing it, you look up to them. And, you know, I always would come up to Jed, and, you know, I was always trying to pick his brain, because he was like the guy, and he would play every single character out there, but I was always asking him questions, and always like, that was the thing with us. When you live, eat, breathe, and danger and stress, and that it's that feeling of like, oh no, we're safe together.
Yeah, we belong. There's a belonging, right?
Yeah, and so that was a cool sensory, because it was like, okay, we're in a bit of the trenches, but it was okay to be in that, because it was like, no, we're surrounded by good people. Vigo held us up, you know, other actors who were like even at the next levels were always giving to all of us in so many ways. It was that kind of, you know, there was just this beautiful connection with us all, that we all just came together. And that's why there's so many sensory feelings that kind of melt together into this family that Lord of the Rings was. And so I think that was like a key to its success. And like Jed said, nothing will ever be done like this ever again, to have this kind of success that it has. And still, like, they re-released the movies, remastered, and it's still sold more ticket sales than movies that are being released now.
Yeah.
That is the full success of what we made as a team and as a group, as a crew and cast, that gave everything. People were driving home after 20-hour days to turn around and come back in 6 hours to go back to work. You know, the stress and the being away from families, that was just the sacrifice that we all did, but we knew that something brilliant was going to come out of it, almost because of how much heart everyone gave. you know?
It started at the very top in terms of how Peter and Richard Taylor, Andrew Lesney, Joe Lettieri, all of those guys that were heads of their department, they gave everybody power to make decisions, but also to feel like they were contributing to the whole. It wasn't, there's a lot of directors for hire who are in charge, and then there's no kind of autonomy, there's no egalitarianism. Peter never made anyone ever feel like he was more important, like everybody on set was important in terms of their contribution. He was guiding it, he was driving it, but everybody felt like they had a say in their own outcome. And so when you do that, when you give people the power over their own destiny, people want to do good work. They want to not be letting the side down, and they want to be, feeling like they're holding each other up, and there's that feeling of real camaraderie that you don't get on other projects necessarily.
No, when the guy who's the captain of the ship turns up with no shoes and short, they're like, wait, this is that guy? How cool is that? He's a fob. He's like just one of us in shorts and jandals or no shoes, just coming to make this piece of work that we all go, oh, he's a real dude. He's one of us. And that's what kind of, like you say, all these people that came together and gave everything, made it what it is. So absolutely.
If your younger self visited the set, what would you show them first?
My biggest thing would be to just watch and learn, because I mentioned this earlier. If a lighting person needed a hand, you would just go and help. Like in America, you couldn't do that because there's legalities in terms of different unions that you can't pick up a C stand if you're not in the camera department. You can't pick up that department if you're not in that department. But like for me, and I still do this to this day when I work in films, is I stand there and I watch and I learn and see what people are doing, instead of like I would watch and tell my younger self to just watch and learn and take note what people are doing and how they're doing it. And if you don't understand something, just ask. I was always a little bit shy, and I was very shy in the beginning, but obviously that has changed a lot. And so it's more of that, just taking note and just taking it all in, and then kind of making that be your thing to do, because when you're first starting out, you just kind of don't know what to do. You don't know where to be, where to stand. You're like, I don't know. And you just kind of, okay, or the guys over there, I should go over there. Or, okay, they're over there now. I just pay attention to all the little things, because you can learn pretty quickly. If you don't know what you're doing, just find out where the other people are that you're supposed to be with. And a lot of people in the industry just take a lot of things for granted. Like I always tell people in the film industry, if you want to learn about film, you get paid to go to film school being an extra. You get paid to go sit on a movie set or a TV show. You get 3 meals a day, and you're getting paid to go to film school, whether it's $100, whether it's $80 or $40. Who cares? Because normally you can't do that anymore. You can go and get work experience and just be on this big thing without having to pay a fee for some sort of school or something. It's like, that's why I say, if you want to learn film, go be an extra. And you get paid, you get 3 meals, and you can actually learn stuff. You can ask anyone questions. If you want to be a filmmaker, go ask the DP, go ask the camera operators. If you want to be in wardrobe, go ask the wardrobe people. There's 16 different departments where you can go and learn about every department and figure out what you want to do in that film or television. And so for me, I would just say to myself, just, as that young person, just soak it all in and take note and never say no until you get to a point where things have changed, where it's, you're soul starts to decide what it really wants to do, and then you kind of make a conscious decision about what that is. But in the beginning, just like soak it in, listen and watch, and then ask questions if you don't know.
I'm curious, if you weren't an actor, is there another part of the filmmaking process that you might be interested in getting involved in?
So while I was just in New Zealand, because as Jed, it's a little bit, I think Jed still has the same feeling sometimes. But it's like, I would think that because Jed gets all the roles, it might be different. But just hold it. Let me finish. I know I was going to get that reaction. But so for me, being a villain and playing all these bad guys all the time, I always get the villain roles, and they can never see me outside of beating someone up or being that tough, ego male kind of characters, right? And so all the scripts or dialogue I get is all very just, that way inclined. And so I started writing. I wrote a short film, 2008, about a small Samoan family in New Zealand. And then I put it down, and I met some people in Los Angeles, and I was going to shoot that and make it into a short film. It just didn't feel right. The people I casted, that I wanted to cast, they kind of, there was a different feeling about American actors at the time that I just didn't really gel with. And I felt, okay, I'll just put this away. I don't want to do this right now. It doesn't feel right. And then this last few years, I've been going home to see my mum. And I realized, oh man, I need to shoot this thing in New Zealand. So in January, I went to surprise my mum on her 86th birthday in New Zealand. And I decided that I was going to rewrite the script and make it for Porirua in Wellington. And my buddy had given me a black magic camera. And I was like, oh my gosh, this means I have to actually make the movie. So I was a bit scared about that. And so I wrote this script, and then I kept changing it. I tried to apply for some New Zealand Film Commission funding for short film funding. And I spoke to some people, and they said, oh, you could apply, but you're most likely not going to get the $90,000 grant because you need 20 hours, I think it was 11 to 20 hours of directing experience or 11 to 20 hours of writing experience. And I had 0. Well, who cares? I don't even want your money anyway. So I went and basically rewrote it, and basically said, you know what? I'm just going to make it myself. And so I made it with $1,800 US, had some friends do some favors, and shot a 16-page short film, directing and writing, producing it myself in 2 days. Scared. And that was pretty scary because it's the first time I'd done all of that. But I'd worked with over 300 directors and producers and writers that I was like, why can't I? I just worked with David Fincher, who's an absolute genius, and Joe Carnahan, and all these directors, 300 plus directors. And I was like, what I did was I watched them do their thing, and like I said earlier, and basically just took a piece out of everyone's kind of thing that I saw and made my own version of a short film that I don't think I told you, Jed, I didn't do any coverage. There's this 0 coverage in the film, and I shot it basically like the film Roma, Alfonso Cuarón, who did that Mexican film. It's a beautiful film, one of my favorite films, and what made me want to be a director is my favorite line in the movie is 2 favorite scenes that I loved. My favorite line in the movie was said while the camera was looking out the window, and the dialogue was said behind the camera at a table. And I was like, oh my God. some of the best stuff. Like in our own vision of our eyes, we only can see this way. And I've always thought when I'm watching films, I'm like, who's watching me, watching them, watching him? That perspective. And so after I watched Roma, and I was like, you know what? You broke all the rules. You didn't do what you're supposed to do. And for me, my short film was based on letting the scene unfold without us telling the audience what to look at, what to watch. They just have to be there to see the whole picture and let themselves understand what's happening instead of trying to tell them. So the short thing, I basically wrote, produced, and directed my first short film.
Congratulations.
That's a beautiful story. Thank you for telling that. I think if there's a story that's in your heart to tell, it's going to find a way to be told one way or another.
Yeah, and it's based on the sacrifice that a mother and father go through, and sickness in raising a child in New Zealand. And it's about a small Samoan family where the father's a taxi driver and he's never home. And they have a 15-year-old boy who never sees his father. And the mother is raising the boy and loving him and showing him how to be a good child and a good human. But he builds resentment because he doesn't understand why his father is never there. The kid doesn't understand sacrifice, but the mother's trying to show him that there are other ways of being there without actually being there. And sometimes some families don't ever show or say, I love you. They don't ever say it, but they show it in so many other ways. So it's based on this father's sacrifice of being a taxi driver and coming home for a few hours and then going back out and doing 2-3 days, taxi rides just to take care of their family. The mother's job is to raise that boy and understanding all of these things. And it's the strength of the mother that holds everything together.
I mean, that's so true of New Zealand society that you and I know. It's there are men out there doing 1 or 2, sometimes 3 jobs to make enough money to support their families, and the matriarch, the mother and families in New Zealand is so important.
Yeah, so that's what it's based on. And it's based on my mother and my father and my auntie and uncle. My mum and her sister were very quiet, strong strengths. In the Samoan community, and Jed knows, some of the Samoan parents, the mothers, it's all about a look or a stare or a facial expression that the kid would be like, oh, sorry, mother. It's those quiet strengths that kind of keep without having, and there's very little dialogue in the movie. It's all performance based. So I wanted the audience to just be there to take everything in without being told what to think or see. And that's with the style of David Fincher and a bit of Alfonso Cuarón, I decided to just break all the rules and do my own version of a short film.
I'm going to make one now.
All my friends have made one, and I was like, man, I've been doing so many. I'm like, and so now I really like this directing. I really like, and we had maybe 10 crew, and it was basically families. And my cousin we used the house that we were like my auntie's house that we were raised in, and it just happened to have this perfect. Like I looked at a few houses. My auntie's house is from the living room, you could almost see every other room, the kitchen, the dining room, the hallway, the front door. And so a lot of the shots are just locked off where you see the father walk in the living room, he stops there, walks into the lounge, and then he goes into the kitchen, and he goes behind to the bathroom, and you can see him kind of going in every single room, kind of like that Roma scene of that, young girl who's cleaning. It's just a
Yeah.
lot going into different rooms, taking the laundry out, and it's just the camera doesn't move that much, but you see her just this wide shot of all these things happening without having to cut to the things she picks up, to what room she's going into, to her facial expression. It's just like, oh, wow, we're just seeing this whole story unfold. And that was the kind of, the reasons of why I shot the way I shot. And I designed everything to be very simple and very, kind of contained in one house and a car. And I had to steal everything in my cousin's car, my cousin's house. It was just the only people I kind of paid were the actors. And I was going to be the father, but I decided against it to just be creative and be the director and kind of see my vision instead of being in it, as well as trying to, do that. Because I was like, you know what, I don't want to be this. I just wanted to show what I could do with nothing. And so in that long answer, writer, director, producer.
Excellent.
So is this a project that you have completed, or is it still in the works?
We shot 2 days, and I came back. I have all the footage. I just spoke to a friend of mine, Jim Rota, who's a producer, and he's the one that gave me the Black Magic camera, because he's the rep for Black Magic America. And so I just spoke to him today, and he's going to help me edit it. We're gonna send him the footage, and we're going to go through and start, post-production, and start putting everything together. And he was like, let's make this a thing. And I was like, oh, okay, let's do it. He was like, you need an editor? I said, well, yes, and I don't have any money, but it's all the favors thing. And he was like, oh, I sent you the camera to just learn how to use a camera. I didn't know you were actually going to shoot something with it. I said, bro, I shot a short film, 16-page short film. He was like, oh, wow, okay. So, because I was like, I need to tell my own story and do it my own way without having to say dialogue that I don't want to say, and do projects that I just have to do for money to pay the bills. So yeah, I just spoke to him this morning while I was at the gym, and so I've got to go through all the footage and make another copy of it so I can send him a copy, and we can both, he's in Los Angeles, so I will send him a copy of everything, and he's going to put everything together and sync the sound and the images, and we'll go through and edit it, and he's going to help put everything together, because as a first-time director, I made a few mistakes, but he was like, oh no, that can all be fixed, and I was like, cool, because it was a really, man, there was like 2 or 3 scenes where I bawled my eyes out while I was directing the scene, because and going to see my mum, she was sick, and in March the 7th, she passed away.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Sala.
So like 2 weeks after that, I shot my film. And yeah, it was kind of about her, my auntie, and my uncles and my dad. So I was like, you know what? I just need to make this film. I don't need money. I just need people who believe in me and can help put this thing together. So yeah. So I just went and did it 2 days and shot this thing, and I put it down for 3 weeks and haven't even looked at it basically. But now, since I spoke to my buddy today, he's like, let's get this thing going. And so we had a DP that happened to be in New Zealand, a female DP she's Samoan, and she was born and raised in San Francisco, but she just happened to be in New Zealand. She had just finished shooting 12 documentaries, and she's went to USC, and she's friends with Ryan Coogler, and so she offered I met with her and she was like, "Hey, so have you written anything lately?" And I was like, "Well, actually, I just wrote this thing and then I'm trying to shoot it." She just offered her services for free. And so I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, now you're being the DP and now I got to make this thing." So we just put it, the next week and a half, we just called a few people who could help out and just put this thing together and shot it. And, after speaking to my buddy, he was like, "Oh, all these things can be fixed." Because I was going to go back in September to visit my family anyway, but do some reshoots. I spoke to my buddy and he was like, "No, you don't have to reshoot that. We can fix that."
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like it kind of came together at the perfect time, man, and that doesn't always happen, but it does happen in New Zealand, funnily enough, a lot, where things just, it's like a perfect storm.
I just want to take a minute to acknowledge that you based the character on your mom. Is that correct?
Yeah, my mom and my auntie, because they were both they were best friends. And my auntie died really young, at 38. And it was my mom's best friend. And they were very much the same. So,
Yeah. And I know that there's probably a big part of you that wishes that you could have maybe completed it in time for your mom to see it, right? But I think it's a really just a beautiful, beautiful tribute, and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait to see it. So thank you for sharing that with us. I think we all want to make our parents proud, We get to a certain age and our parents are getting older and we want them to be around to see it. So that's a feeling that I think we can all share in.
Yeah.
I was just glad I was there with her when she passed. So that was the silver lining of it all. We got to hang out for 3 months. And she's hilarious. And so, yeah, it was fun to be there. And then I was like, just make the thing, man. Just make it. Just stop making excuses and just make it. You got a camera, you got some people. Just pull some people together. And I cast the son who had never acted. He's a dancer, and he'd only done a Toyota commercial. And my cousin who played the mother, she was just coming in to produce it, and I said, "Will you play the mother?" Because she's really big in the Polynesian community. And she was like, "I got this kid. I got 2 kids. One's a really good actor. He's in a Disney show, a Polynesian kid, but he looks a little bit older. But there's this other dancer kid who's had a tough life. He hasn't had much experience." And she showed me a photo of him, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's the kid." I don't even have to see him act. Sometimes, you can see it in their eyes. And he had to basically carry the film because he had huge emotional scenes in the movie. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing here?" But when I saw his photo, I was like, "No, this is the kid." And he ended up being. Everyone was actually amazing. I just didn't know how we did that and put that together. So I'm excited to put it together now and go through. And
We can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Do you ever feel trapped by your public image?
all the time. And it's kind of like this Polynesian thing that happens where we're so big, and we're so, the stature of us is large. Like sometimes we're no different to anyone else in the emotions that we all go through. We may seem big, but everyone has the stuff inside, and it's like, oh man.
We can just pause, bro. We can just pause for a while. It's all good.
Just like it would be nice to just play a human instead of this tough exterior bad guy who, or who's always mad or like, I love villains because there's a reason why they're the way they are, and no one really gets to see that. But no one ever also gets to see the soft, sensitive side of someone that large, right? Like the John Coffey character in The Green Mile. He was such a outwardly looking monster, but on the inside, he was a gift from God, you know. And so sometimes when you're this big, people don't see that you can't play small. Like one of my favorite projects I did, which was a short film, I played a therapist to a mother whose son was a heroin addict. And she brought him home, but she also enabled him to keep using in the house. My character said, was like, you can't do that. And when I did the screening in the Man's Chinese Theatre at the time, everyone came out and was like, "Whoa, that's you? You're the therapist?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "How can someone so big can be so little in these moments?" And that's the thing that people don't see, of like someone who's big that also can be sensitive and can be a normal human without being a villain or a strong character, So that's why I was like, you know what, I'll just write and produce and direct my own stuff, and show people what else I can do instead of being these formidable characters, which I consistently play, And so that therapist character was really awesome because it was like, yeah, I could do it. People just can't see me outside of my stature.
Yeah, I know what it's like to feel like you're trapped by your own success, I'm really good at playing prosthetic characters. I can make it work through the rubber mask and physically I can create characters, but I'd love to just play myself, and I got to just recently in a film where I got to play a farmer from, a sheep farmer, which is how I grew up. I grew up on a sheep farm. And it's taken 35 years in the industry to play me, to play the real me, the person that I grew up being. So yeah, it's the industry sees what you can do, and they go to that because they're like, well, I know who can do that. I know someone who's really good at that. We'll get that guy. Instead, Liz Mullane's great, actually. She'll let me go and read for things that I may not look like on paper, that is me, but she knows that she's seen me on stage. She's seen that I do, in theatre, you can play anyone. You can play any kind of person you like. And I always challenge producers to go and see theatre and go and see actors in roles that they've never seen them in before, so they're not typecast in their head about the type of characters that you can play. So
taking charge of your own destiny is the next best thing that we can do. And so that's why with this short film, I was like, okay, time to do the thing. And that's what I'm excited about. Like, okay, I think this is a new thing,
Yeah.
Enjoying and having fun doing and putting my friends into characters and roles that they would never, be able to play.
You're going to have to audition like everyone else. Yeah. I think it's great when you have the opportunity to express your creativity, because at the end of the day, that's why you're an actor, right? It's because you have this creativity within yourself that you want to express. And sometimes you have to take jobs for the paycheck, but then it's always nice when you get to do the thing that you want to do and show a different side of yourself.
Yeah. On that kind of subject, how do you think rejection has shaped you as a person?
It's funny because I in the early days, when I first came to LA, and I didn't know how to find auditions. I didn't know how to find the thing to do the thing in Los Angeles. But there was a bookstore in Hollywood Hollywood Boulevard. Actually, it's on Sunset. It's called the Samuel French Bookstore, and it's right next to the Guitar Center. And they would do Tuesdays and Thursdays. They would do a production listing on what productions were in town. When we had the Thomas Guide, just basically a map that you would go 849 to K 286, and you would just go deep, deep, deep. And so what happened was, the first few years, what I would do is, because other than that, I would stand on Hollywood Boulevard with my backpack, and I would go and spend $80 and get 100 headshots printed out and staple my resume, which had like Lord of the Rings, Cena, that was it. And just stood on the street waiting for actors to come around and follow them to auditions and walk into auditions.
Wow.
And so I would see people like, oh, okay, I'm going to follow them. Hey, you guys have the audition? Oh, yeah. Just follow them in. I'd walk in and I'd just write my name on the thing, on the list, and just stand back, and they'd be like, Sala Baker? I go, yep. They go, oh, I don't see you on my list. And I go, oh, no, but I'm on that list right there. They go, yeah, I know you're on that list, but you're not on my list. I get that, but I'm on that list. She's like, yeah, but I said, I'm on that list. You can see my name right there. She's like, come on in. And I'd go in and I would just do this hundreds of times. Just walk into places, just do some auditions, and basically just figure it out, on the spot. And I did this for probably 3 to 4 years. I did not book one job. Not one of them. And I said to myself, you know what? One day someone's going to figure it out. One day someone's going to figure it out. And I said to myself, it doesn't matter whether I get the job or not. What matters is I'm out here hustling. Yeah. And it wasn't even like a rejection. It was just kind of like, just go do the numbers, go through the notion of just figuring it out, go somewhere and not getting a job or whatever. And to me, after I started meeting stunt people and then going to these meetings and then going in on stunt auditions, then I started to book stunt auditions constantly. I was like, it got to the point where I would turn up at an audition and everyone was like, oh man, Sala's here. You might as well just go home. Because I started booking everything. Like every third or fourth audition I would book. And I became the guy. And so I had put that down to all those times that I didn't get it. And I said to myself, when I got to LA, I said, you're never going to bloody quit. And you're never going to say no. And you're just going to keep going. You're not going home. You're never giving up. And so I didn't even see it as a rejection. It was more of like, I just got to keep going. Someone's going to say yes. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And it didn't happen until I started going into stunt auditions. Was when that started to happen and I started to work all the time. And even when I audition for things that I don't get, I go, even if I didn't get that role, someone who worked on that show or movie is going to say, hey, he's not right for this role, but he might be right for this other thing that I'm doing in 2 or 3 years. That they might go, remember that guy that came in? And so I just had that in my head that someone else is going to pick me later on. They just don't know it yet. And I almost had to see myself in the future and go, nah, someone's going to pick me. And then what started to happen was I just started getting random jobs out of nowhere. People would call me up and say, hey, you available for this thing? I'm like, yep. They're like, okay, cool. Be here, this. And I was like, wait, where the heck did that come from? And to me, that's what some of those times were. It was like, who cares if they say no? One day you're going to like me. One day it's going to happen. And you almost had to put this false hope in your head to not fake it till you make it, but it's like, it's okay. Someone's going to see me, and they're going to see me for what I am and and what I can do. And that turned into 300 plus movies and TV shows over the last 26 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's put yourself out there, eh? Just put yourself out there.
Was that around the time when Jed met up with you in LA? I think he told me you guys had something going on back then. Was it around that time?
Was I saying I was just over on I was by that bar. Is that when you guys stayed with me?
Yeah.
With my buddy David Baxter.
Yeah.
From Legion M. Yeah, so him and I were staying there, and man, it was just the hustle time, I was a bit further on then. I was working, and I was actually, I hadn't started working yet. I was doing the conventions. And that's when we all started doing that whole convention circuit together. And I didn't get my SAG card until 2005 or 6.
Right. Yeah. That because 2004 we were Milton Keynes. Remember we doing that crazy like Milton Keynes gig as you, me, and Lawrence and Craig and Harry Sinclair, all those people from Star Wars, and it was like, remember Joe Pantaleone coming down and saying, "Can I pretend I'm in Lord of the Rings because I'm down there and no one's coming to my table?"
Yeah,
crazy times.
it's just like telling myself never give up, and just get it and go for it. Who cares, I mean, I did a talk at Pawtucket Museum in Porirua, and I was telling people about my story about sleeping in cars and having because I went to the 99-cent store, and because I had no money, I had $60 and had to make that last 9 months. So I went to the 99-cent store and purchased 150 packets of ramen noodles for $60 and had half a packet a day with some spices. And I think I got a cabbage for 10 cents. And I would just have a packet of ramen and cabbage and just walked around Hollywood trying to follow people to auditions and sleeping in my car and eating and just, filling yourself up with just water because you have no food. You just figure it out. You just have to figure it out and still believe in something is going to happen.
I mean, not everyone's as driven as that. That's inspiring, man. I mean, you really wanted it, and you didn't let anyone tell you that you couldn't do it.
No, I didn't go back to New Zealand for like 11 years because I couldn't afford it, and I had to get myself straight. And I didn't want to ask my family for money. I never asked them for 1 cent. I just struggled through it and came out the other side. And now we're all struggling. I
know. And we're back where we started, man. COVID killed it.
But it's the rejection is almost the power to keep going for me, because I just wouldn't see it. It was never in my arsenal to give up or to be told no. I just like, well, someone's gonna like me. Someone's gonna love me one day.
I think there are a lot of people that like you and love you watching right now.
Yeah. On that, now in terms of where you are in your career now, when was the last time you had to wash your clothes in a sink in a hotel?
So many times. Because when you're traveling and working, right, and did you know this? When you're in remote locations and the dry cleaners are like $40, it's so expensive for a dry cleaner, and you got to wait 3 or 4 days, and you don't have times. That's the times where you start cleaning your undies and your socks in the old sink.
Yeah.
They never come back fast enough. You're missing a sock sometimes. You kind of just have to do what you have to do. And I did it a few years ago just because we were in a remote location and there was no dry cleaner. And in the hotel, that some of these expensive hotels they put you in, it's like $150 just to do like 10 things of laundry. And so from New Zealand, it's just like, oh, nah, man, I'll just wash it in the sink and then I'll hang it up with some hangers and she'll be right. It's like, gotta be, you gotta have that number 8 wire thing going on, man. You just figure it out, you know. You just gotta do sometimes, and I can't wait for no dry cleaner. You just gotta, it happens a lot.
It does. Yeah, just a month ago I was in Portugal, and there was no dry cleaner in the town at all, and so I just was like, oh well, and I used to get embarrassed that when the cleaning people came in, they'd be like looking at all my underwear and my socks hanging up there, but now it's like, nah, that's how I do it. I'm a Kiwi.
Yeah, exactly. You just, hey man, if you don't have anything, that's the cool thing about us Kiwis. If you don't have anything, you just figure it out. You don't cry. Oh, I don't have the thing. It's like, shut up, man. Just figure it out. Just go and find something else to do, or find another way to do what you need to do. Don't cry about it. Just go and figure something out. And if you don't have that thing, then today you're not having that thing. It's just, I think in our thing as Kiwis, we just like, oh, whatever, I'll just do another thing. Or just, you just kind of make it up as you go, and you figure it out and you move on. Don't like harp on about it. Oh, last week I didn't so most people don't know I struggled, because I don't care. I didn't tell you. What would I tell you for? I don't want your sad stories. I don't want your, oh, you okay? Nah, man. No one knows the struggle unless you're in it. And they don't know, then all goods. Like I used to go to meet with people. Oh, come out and have dinner with us. Oh, yeah, I got another meeting. And you just eat your ramen at home, and then you go out. Did you want to eat dinner? Oh, no, I just ate at home. You just when you don't have money, you just turn up late and you figure it out, and you're like, oh, no, it's just the figure it out kind of way to get what you need to get out of the thing you need to get.
I think it's important when people come up to you in public, the fans and the people that admire your work, that they have something that they can relate to. So I'm glad that you guys are sharing a little bit of the tougher times. I know that the Kiwi and you would rather be like, oh, it's fine, no big deal. But I think it's meaningful to people who are watching, that they see that you're just people and that you've struggled, and that they don't have to be nervous to come up and talk to you, because there's a lot that you have in common.
Listen, there's no difference between you and I at all, ever. I'm a fan of film with other actors that these conventions. I'm a fan of guys from Man from Atlantis and all these other shows that I grew up on, and I still get set. I'm like, oh, there's the guy, or there's Linda Carter, or all these things that I watched as a kid. So the fact that you guys are buying this stuff helps me keep doing the thing that I love to do and give you more characters, because we're not getting $20 million a movie. We're the guys who are just like you, saving our money to do the next thing to do, and hopefully it'll work out. It's like there's no difference between a fan and us, because we're still fans of old film and television too. So that's what I like to say to a lot of people, to make them feel like, hey man, there's really no difference between you and I. I'm just on that screen, and I struggled to get on that screen. I just found out that Jean-Claude Van Damme only got $25,000 for Bloodsport.
Yeah, I know. Crazy.
For his first movie where he was the leading star, and he got 25. I've made more money than that doing stunts. Like, that's crazy. And so the fact that these guys did that, it shows, oh wow, even then it was just difficult for everyone. And so the struggle is just the struggle, no matter whether it's film or the grocery store or wherever you're mowing lawns. Struggle is the struggle, no matter what it is. It's just, we just happen to be on TV, and we're not sitting in a $20 million mansion, Yeah.
This is called the Lucky Kiwi Podcast. I was born in the right country. I knew Peter Jackson from doing a couple of really low budget films with him. And we were just at the right place at the right time to be in these massive movies that happen to have this amazingly vast fan base of people who, love the movies. And these movies really did change them, and it changed us as well. I went to the bank for 12 years trying to get a mortgage. They just laughed at me. because I was a film and theatre actor in New Zealand. They're like, you don't have any money, you can't afford to buy a house. When I got my contract for the Lord of the Rings horse department, I went to the bank and they literally said, well, how much do you want? It was just like one letterhead changed everything. And that was the same for a lot of people in New Zealand at that time, where everyone was struggling, and a lot of the crew ended up doing short films in the weekend because they were getting paid well during the week, and they'd go and help other filmmakers in the weekend, knowing that they were really lucky to be on this gig. And you and I have talked about this, how we know we'll never get to do anything like that kind of film again because you simply couldn't afford to make that now.
Yeah. Especially with that many people and that much love. Now it's almost like we have to go back to the old school guerrilla style shooting to show people what we can do with certain amounts of money and give us some more to make something even cooler.
Yeah. You talked about going to conventions. Do you ever feel like touched out at the end of the day, like you've just had too much humanity around you, you just need to take a break from that?
I actually love it, because the older I've gotten, the less I hang out with people, and as you both know, the older we get, we likely choose the right people who fill our cup to hang out with. It's like I don't need to hang out with everybody. I just need to hang out with quality people who can uplift me, or we can talk about real things going on, or we can have a cool conversation about something cool instead of surface level nonsense of so many people that you've met along the way, where it's like I go from being in Dallas, and not really I don't go out at all. I go to the grocery store, I go to the gym, and then I'm in the house just because I'd rather choose the right energies to be around. And then when I go to conventions, it's like, oh, okay, I get to get some energy up. And the people just love on you so much where it doesn't affect me too much. And what it only does is sometimes it takes the energy out of you when you get, it, Jed, and both of you actually know it. When you get home, you're just like, oh my gosh, I am so just brained out. I just want to sit there and do nothing, have a shower, eat some food, and just stare at the wall and look at nonsense for a few hours, just to not be able to, because I love talking to people. I love talking about the film. I love talking about my job because I love it that much. It's just after a long day of traveling. I'm actually going this weekend. I'm going to Motor City Con on Thursday in Novi, Michigan. And I'm like excited to go to it because I get to see the people and I get to be around people who love our films. And this is what's so great about this film. Jed, we're going to be doing this until we're 100.
I know. I mean, that's like Friday for me. Yeah. I know. I know it's the gift that keeps on giving, and we didn't really know. I had no idea what a convention was back in the day, or even I didn't even know I had an action figure. I was in Los Angeles. I was in Santa Monica, walking past the Monkey Puzzle Shop, and the owner came out and he said, "Hey, if you sign one for me, I'll give you one." I went, "What?" And he had a charcu, wag with charcu on it, in a box, and I went, "Oh, that's not mine." He went, "Yeah, this is your action figure. This is your character." Somehow he recognized me, and I was like, "No, I don't have one of those." And he went, "Yeah, we've sold hundreds of them." I was like, "Oh, wow, I have an action figure." I didn't know that kind of thing existed. And when we signed up for the film, I certainly didn't think that was going to be our future.
Yeah, that's why it's still to this day my favorite film ever. I've worked with a lot of really great things, but I say this continuously. I say our fans are the best in the world. Like, they are die hard. And then what's crazy is our fans bring their newborn babies to get them into it so that they can be the next generation of our fandom. And that is amazing. Because it's like, this is how much because the story is about people's journeys and the different types of peoples and sizes and looks and every kind of person. That's why it's such a successful story, because we can all relate to a lot of these stories as we every day go through these things. You know,
Yeah.
some of your friends you believe in, and some of your friends you're not. You know, it's just it's that's why I'm like, man, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, it keeps it, and when we're not making any money on films, we're traveling to different cities and countries to keep this cool thing that's kept us going, and it can also save your soul, because when you're not working and you have these people who love Jed, Sala, it's like, oh, I am liked. It's saving thing in so many ways, because it kind of gives you the energy to be like, oh, I love this. I actually really do love this thing. And I love these people who love the films and our characters that we bring forth. And because they just like this, so many people, marathons of watching it while they're cleaning, and all these videos of reactions to people watching the movie, reacting to the reacting. It's like, this is actually the best thing that's ever happened to me, and that's why
Okay.
such a cool thing. These films that again, it'll never be able to be done ever again the way we did it. With all those horses at that horse charge that we did, oh my gosh, like never again.
On that, I want to tell the fans a story about what it was like being you guys on the ground, because on the horses, we got up to 25 miles an hour sometimes, charging at you dudes. We were trying to hold them to a fast canter, slow gallop, but sometimes those horses got kind of out of control. And the one that I really remember, and we measured it from where you got hit to where you hit the wall, busting out of the doors at Helm's Deep, it was 20 feet. You flew through the air.
Yeah.
That was Len Baines on Little Red playing Theoden. And Little Red, man, when those doors opened, he was gone, and you stepped. I think you were trying to run across. I'm not quite sure why you were there, but man, you got hit so hard.
It was like, and that's what I talk about. These moments of like sheer, like, pants filling, of like, oh, and you just like, well, it's about to happen, and I can't do anything about it. All the horses and all these riders coming out, and it was like, as made up as it was, it is almost real, because we were actually going through it. Yeah. Being smashed by horses, guys getting run over, like teeth knocked out, like getting put on by real horses, and it was like, oh no, this is actually happening. This is not CGI.
Yeah, I know. I remember that day in when we were down on J Stage or wherever it was down on the waterfront, and I remember Pete saying he wanted it to be more visceral, and we were looking at each other going, more visceral? Bro, we just put 11 people out for the day.
It was like, oh my gosh.
So it truly was like an adventure for you all. You were just living your best life. You were just having a ball. I can just imagine how that might have been.
It was a dude's like dream, and it carried on for 19 months full-time shooting. And that's why it was so much fun. Even though we were getting destroyed, it was like, let's do it again, let's do it again, let's do it again. It was like aiming in, it was this, it was that, it was Helm's Deep, it was the horse charge, it was like Minas Tirith, it was like you just keep getting beat up by your friends constantly on horses and swords and fire and castles and dragons and all sorts of cave trolls, and it was literally the best job ever. Beating each other up, laughing, and
I've talked to Mo about this, and I know I've talked to you about this, where you guys would choose the horse riders you wanted to fight with because you knew it was going to be a good fight. I just remember you standing up. I was on that big white horse Hercules, and you were going, "Hit me! Hit me!"
That's what I'm referring to, is these times where it's like, man, there's nothing better than this. You know, it's almost like you want to get hurt so you can talk about, like, when Jed ran you over and stood on your face. You know, it was like
Yeah.
a gory story. So they'd be like, remember that time, Jed? Yeah. It was like, you live for these action of, oh, see, I got my tooth knocked out. Oh, I knocked his tooth out. This is what I, you know, and it's like that feeling of just having the best time ever, you know, in prosthetics and literally living the dream, traveling around New Zealand. I'd never been throughout the whole country ever before, never in my life. Lord of the Rings made that happen, and now it's making it happen for me to travel all over the world and the United States. So this journey just keeps on going, and that's what's been a blessing, that we are all still able to do it and still live to tell the stories, you know, that we keep giving. And that's what's like, that's why I love going to these conventions, because we can relive them every time, you know, with fans, and then when we see each other, like, you know, I love it when Jed and I see each other. We just have this whole thing where the fans love it, where we're just bantering back and forth at our tables and talking smack, and it's just like seeing everyone again and hanging out and then having dinners in the weekend, you know, at the conventions. It's just a lovely catch up with all the old friends again, and that's what's been awesome, because I'll see Jed in the States, or I'll see him in England, I'll see him in Germany, I'll see, you know, it's just, that's what's been the coolest thing, because we you know, we end up seeing all the other cast members, the Americans, and, you know, it's just the coolest thing.
If you could whisper thank you to one moment from your life, what moment would you choose?
I think it was the moment leaving New Zealand. Polynesians are seafaring people, you know, we are always moving and traveling, and the gift of me going, you know what? Because Mark Ordesky was the one who really pushed me to go. I'd gotten on, you know, we did a lot with Peter Jackson, with all the actors, and, you know, being above the line and dealing with the A-list actors and the directors and producers every day. It got to the point where Peter Jackson brought his daughter Katie to set, and I was in prosthetics, and Katie just happened to love my prosthetics, love my voice, whatever, and she just wanted to hang out with me on set all the time. And so one weekend, I get a call from, like, Barry Osborne, and he's like, "Hey, Sala, I think Peter wants you to go to his house this weekend." And I'm like, "What?" Because, and I go, "What for?" He says, "I don't know, but you got to be here at this time, blah, 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 blah." And so I get there, and I'm like, I didn't have a clue why I'm at Peter Jackson's house. I had no idea. And I knock on the door, and I go, "Hey, Sala, come in." And I'm like, ha, ha, ha. All the actors are there, and they're like, "Sala, blah, blah." And next thing you know, Katie comes running in and is like, "Sala, oh, I miss you." I was only there because Peter Jackson's daughter wanted to hang out with me. So then I'm at the house. Michael Diskey's there. He's like, "What?" And so Mark started to see, and then I started to get on, you know, like, get to know Peter really well, and hang out with the crew. And Michael Diskey was like, "Hey, Sala, what do you really want to do?" And I says, "You know what? I'd love to be an actor and do more acting. It's just very hard for me to get roles in New Zealand, because just like in the States, all the brown roles go to all the 5 brown actors who get them all, you know. And in New Zealand, there was the Dave Farnes, the, you know, Robbie Magasiva, the same guys who get all the roles." And Mark Ordesky goes, "Well, why don't you come to the States?" And I said, "What?" He said, "Why don't you come to LA? So you don't look like everyone there." And I go, "That's true." And he just kind of was like, "Why don't you come to the States and see what it's like? You never know what can happen, because in New Zealand, you're a dime a dozen. There's plenty of guys who look like you. There's plenty of people who are as talented as you. You might actually stand out in LA. So I was like, Confucius say, And so then he was like, I'll help you. And so he wrote a letter of recommendation, and Barry Osborne did as well. And I got a letter from Peter. And I started to go to LA. And that was, then I started to hang out with Marco a lot, and go to his house and have weekly barbecues at his house every week, and bring all the Kiwis around and hang out with him. And so he was the real reason for me to go over. And I think that was the best thing that ever happened, was me believing in myself and just selling everything. I think I only had $1,500 in my bank account, but I was like, I don't care, I'm going to America. Just go see what you can do with nothing. And that was my moment of going, because I was never going to get a chance in New Zealand otherwise. I was just,
that's true.
So many brown guys fighting over the same 5 roles, in the country, and I just said to myself that was never going to happen, and it was like the chances are very low.
Where do you think that comes from, that adventurous spirit, that you're willing to take these big risks, these big chances? Is there somebody from your childhood who really instilled that in you or made an example that way?
I think it's 2 things. My dad was very stubborn. My dad was very like, I don't care, I'm gonna do what I want anyway. My dad was guys would come over and question, my dad wanted them to build or to do stuff at the house. My dad would always question why. No, that's too expensive. Oh, you're ripping me off. My dad was like a strong alpha who had 9 boys and 2 girls to raise. And I'm a twin, so there's 11 of us in my family. And so my dad had to do that thing and figure it out, how to raise 9 boys and keep them all in check while raising their family. And my dad was obviously the discipline in the hand of God, and then my mum was the heart and the soul of our family. And I think that that just figure it out was also my dad. He taught us how to do everything. We could panel beat, fix our own cars, sanding and everything. We built everything. My dad we built a 4-tier garden. He would go to the tip and just fill up his trailer with hundreds of black tires from the rubbish tip for free. And he would overlap them like bricks and fill them with dirt and make like 4-tier garden. And that's where we grew all our food, because with 9 boys and 2 girls, you can't go to the store every time to buy food. So we grew everything. My dad would teach us how to take the net out once every 3 months when the moon's at its highest point into Titahi Bay Beach. And my mum and dad did it first. They showed us. My mum stayed on the beach and my dad swam the net out, 80-foot by 20-foot net. Then when it's taut, my mum would walk most of it in up to her waist, and then my dad would swim the net and bow it into the beach at 3 a.m, because my dad's always like, why do people fish during the day? The fish can see you. And so my fish at 2 or 3 a.m, when most fish are sleeping in that zone. And so we would drag this net in. It would take him an hour to drag the net in. And we'd bring it in. We'd have these 100-gallon drums and fill it up with flounder, fish, seafood. And we'd spend the next 10 hours cleaning the net, gutting the fish, putting all the crabs in one thing, putting the fish in one thing, putting all the flounder in one thing. And then we would go, this, Jed, we'd go to Otaki and berry pick and apple pick. And 9 boys and 2 girls, you got to make money and berry pick and apple pick. Fingers all ripped up and you get $5 a little bucket times 11 people. That's a lot of buckets. And so that's how you would make money back in the day. My dad would put eel traps in the river next to the apple and berry picking. So when we left there, we'd pick up the eels on the way back. My dad would still... it was the old school way, bro,
Yeah.
And that's how my dad raised us, because we couldn't afford to go to the store or the butcher. We would go to the farms, we'd kill a pig, cut it, gut it, clean it, and then we'd put it in those industrial big freezers that we all had back in the 80s and 70s. And so my dad's and our Polynesian Samoan people being always traveling in the ocean, always moving to find a better place, all of that come together was like, nothing stopping me from doing nothing. And I think my dad and like taught us that whole thing with our culture being Samoan to just never give up. Figure it out, son. If you don't have nothing, figure it out. Get the tires, do the thing, clean the net, sew the net back up, and fix everything ourselves. I think that was, and obviously our faith as well, like the Christian church in Samoa, the belief system, and whatever you want to do, you can do, and don't let anyone tell you you can't. And so I think it was a collection of all those things that made me as stubborn as my dad, and just go to the world and tell them what you can do and show them what you can do with nothing.
That's so wonderful. That is wonderful, Sala.
We're a nation of innovators who have had to innovate because we don't have the resources that other countries have. We don't have the industry and the technology, and so we had to kind of develop that on the film. They had a big ball, like a gimbal, under one of the helicopters that they were using to shoot down south, and a part of it broke. And they phoned through to Los Angeles, and it was going to take 6 days for a part to come. And there was a farmer who was one of the extras on set, said, "Can I have a look at that?" And he went to the back of his Land Rover and pulled out a lathe, and he made a piece that they could use literally on the spot. And the helicopter operator said to me, he said, "Yeah, we used that gimbal for 18 months after that with that part that farmer made." And it's that kind of innovation on the film where it's like, you could wait 6 days to get that part, or this guy can just make it for you right here.
That's just what we got to do. And sometimes you have it all and sometimes you don't. And you just adjust along the way.
So who are you when nobody is watching?
Just like every other dude, man. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do, how I want to do it. I am a very positive person. I'm like, I don't worry about what I can't do. I worry about what I can do. And just like that whole filmmaking thing, it's getting to writing and producing and directing. It's just like, I'm always trying to figure out what I can do when there's no work. As we all do, like I'll sit around and I'll just be like, I'll have my routines, I have to have the routines of just the gym, the eating healthy, then I have to go, okay, what am I going to do now? In between the times of not being busy, I am in here in Texas, like looking after my wife's mom, and she's doing great. Just love being around her. She's a lot of fun, and I don't have a mom or dad anymore, so. And it's just our house is being rented in Indiana, but we're thinking of moving here to Dallas, Texas anyway. So it's just trying to, when I'm not at work, I'm just trying to figure out what we're going to do with life, with things. Yeah. And, I think that's the same with everyone. So I'm no different to anyone else. Just trying to go, whoa, okay. I can't be crazily spending money because there's nothing coming in. Well, there's nothing going out. It's the same as everyone else, just trying to adjust as the world adjusts, trying to figure out, okay, what can I learn? Now I need to learn more about cameras and shooting and directing and do some stuff about what my next career is going to be, as well as when the other stuff comes back, it's like, okay, I could do that. I'm not doing that. Okay, I have to learn about directing and learn about cameras and trying to learn things. And there's some days where I just don't do anything, Some days where it's just, I just go to the gym and go to the bathroom and sleep. There's no magic to it all. You have some days where you're like, oh, I know what you did. And some days you're like, hey, I have no idea. And I think I'm just going to stay at home and not leave the house, because when you leave the house, you got to spend money.
Yeah.
You open your front door, there's $20 gone. You get in the car, that's another 10.
oh, we need to go over there. I'm like, well, I could walk too, because, but then it's like, I'm just the same as everyone, really. We're all just trying to figure out life as it adjusts, and we just have to adjust to it.
One thing I noticed about Jed is he does not enjoy being stationary. So in between jobs, when he has, let's say he has a month off and we're just hanging out at the house, I can see it take a toll on his mental health. He's not as happy. He's happier when he's doing something. Do you find that you relate to that?
Yeah. Like if I'm not doing anything, then I'll go outside and start cleaning. I'll start, fixing the things up. I gotta start mowing the lawns. I gotta go. Well, I gotta get garage needs to redo again. Okay, I gotta redo the garage. Oh, we have to do something with our hands, or like otherwise we start all of a sudden like we won't be doing anything, but our minds will be going. You better go do something. You better go do something. And it's. I think my wife will be like, "Are you all right?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." She's like, "Yeah, no, you're not."
Part of the reason I wanted to do this podcast is because I looked at the calendar and saw that we had a whole month off together. And I was like, we're going to drive each other crazy. We need to do something.
Listen, I'll tell you this. I'm glad Jed has you.
Thank you.
He's a wonderful man. And I've heard lots of great things about you. It's every good man needs a better woman to keep us our heart good and the soul, happy. And there's obviously good and bad times, but the best part about that is you're having times together. It's worst time together is better than than times apart. Because it's like I spend 24/7 with my wife. She comes with me to all my jobs. She comes with me to all the conventions. I can't, because for me, I'll lose my pajamas. She's like my moral compass and my usa. My hey, chill out, man. So I'm glad you have each other, and Jed is a wonderful partner in yourself, and it makes me happy to see you two gallivanting around and having so much fun together.
Thank you.
If you have downtime, what kind of things are your solace? What stories do you like to read or to listen to?
In film and stories, there's always the white savior with all these ethnic projects. And what I think about a lot is showing the stories that most people don't want to hear. Telling those stories of what has really happened in a nice way without making people angry, but like showing the real stories about. So I was all the roles that I couldn't play in the States. I was picked up by a lot of my Latin friends, Mexican friends, to play Mexican characters and Latino characters and ethnic characters that have allowed me to play these characters in all these stunt films. And it's like, why don't we get to see the stories of the beautiful colors of the Mexican community, the food, the beautiful stories of the Native Indians, the beautiful stories about the ethnic people that tend to get pushed aside and have some white male come and save the day who's coming, so I've found out about my stories, about my past, my family, that I have a little German or English in our family that dates back to like 1814, and of these two brothers that went to Rarotonga and slept with the king's daughter. And then the whole thing just unravels from there, the typical, they were escaping the war, but also to see these cool stories of our cultures be told. And it doesn't have to be a giant movie. It's just like telling cool stories about what things really were like for a lot of the ethnic cultures and communities around the world that we never get to see.
Yeah.
My short film was about a small family, but widely known as the mother and the father's sacrifice for raising a child. You know, we can still tell a story within the story or that everyone can relate to. And so that's why I constantly think about those things and how I can make a story or a script that can show these things. Because
Yes.
we never get to see the struggle. We get to see the struggle, but then it's saved by a European or whatever, which is, we find out that in the Green Mile, the story of John Coffey, that story was about a 14-year-old boy that was murdered, not a man. It was about a 14-year-old boy that they basically said had killed these two white girls. And I just found out it wasn't a man, it was actually a 14-year-old boy that they hung. So, and like the World Trade Center with Nicolas Cage, that guy that ran into the burning building was a black man. But they changed that character to a white man, Nicolas Cage. So when you find out these true stories, it's like, oh, wow, why did you have to? Because they just wanted the typical to look like the story, and then we find out later it was actually the complete opposite,
Mm-hmm.
So these are the stories that I often want to show, but, it comes with a price. Not everyone's going to see it, but as long as I make a cool story, then I've done my job.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's really important, that people who look all different colors, all different shapes be represented in these stories, in these, they can be the hero, they can be the authority figure, they can be, and because they are in real life, we all are. So I think that's wanting to be genuine and show these genuine stories. Just on a side note, my favorite television show, I don't know if you ever watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, well, he was in a lot of ways ahead of his time, because he started the show in the 60s, and it was a time of segregation in the United States and around the world, black people and white people, and he intentionally cast a gay black man as an authority figure on the show. He was Officer Clemens. And I think that as creatives, as filmmakers, we can pave the way, and we can lead by example and show that, this is real life. These people deserve to be represented as well,
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. We can make cool stories to show everyone, but tell real life stories that show the beauty of culture and the stories that involve everyone. But something that's more real than a superhero.
Yes, and there were a lot of parents at the time that told their kids, you can't watch that show because there's a black man as a police officer, and they wanted to further the narrative that this person can't be trusted, or because he's gay, or whatever it may be. So I really admire that show for what it was.
I'd never seen the program until I met you, and we had play school, we had after school programs, but there was no one really in New Zealand like Fred Rogers in terms of what he was doing for young people and their souls. Do you think growing older you have got softer, or do you think you've got stronger?
Both. I've gotten softer, but my beliefs have changed to make me stronger. So in the early days, I would take every role, but I've turned down roles where they've asked me to assault and rape a woman, and I just said no. No, hell no. And so my responsibilities, and I've got roles where it was a big movie and it was with a huge actor, but they wanted my character to be a dumb Polynesian. And I just said, I won't do that. I won't just do a role just because I want to be in the movie. I turned it down because I don't want my people to be seen for as this laughing stock that you're just making this comedy out of with an SNL actor that you just want to make a movie about. Like, I think my priorities have changed where I just won't do certain things just because I don't stand for that. And the strength is in that and not just taking it. Like, I've turned down 3 auditions just because the first one they sent me, I was like, no, I won't. So I don't want to be portrayed as that character, and you're making my people look silly. Then they came back 3 weeks later. I was hoping that they would just go away. They came back with an even bigger role, and my character was just this disgusting like character that our culture is not. And so that's why I've decided to I need to write my own things, because what people are writing about us is just ridiculous and degrading women and doing all these things where I'm like, oh hell, why do you have to rape someone in a movie? Like, I get it happens a lot, but I won't be that character. Like, I won't just do any role because it's money. And I think my strength has lied in terms of I've gotten softer with obviously my wife, and not being as I'm very outspoken, and I'm very I'll stand up against an idiot chauvinistic man, but I won't get as aggressive as I used to when I was younger, wanting to fight people and be like, oh, I'll show you. But now it's more like, no, I just don't want to spend my energy around certain people who are not like-minded, like I said earlier, who don't fill your cup or say nice things. Why do we hang out with people who constantly degrade us, make fun of us just because they're somebody?
Yeah, I agree.
Real people who are nobodies, who actually have something cool to talk about in real life, instead of things where I just choose not to. We the older we get, we can choose to see what energy you want around you. It's a bit of both.
Yes, I think that there is a strength in being softer. I think that they kind of go hand in hand. As we grow and mature, we get softer. We get a little, less rough around the edges, but there is a strength in that, because that takes strength to not give in to those impulses to be this macho guy or whatever we might have been when we were younger.
Do you have any final thing you'd like to say to our fans?
Listen, I just want to thank them for being the best fans, because they're constantly, as much as we do these things for them, they do so much for us, and they consistently give not only their weekly wages, but also their life and energy to this movie and these books that have helped us, do the things that we want to do and support our careers and what we do. And that's just, I will be forever grateful to our fans, because, back in the early days, Jed, we're going through Europe, you see the same fans in Germany. Next week they're in Ireland. The next week they're in London. The next week they're in Scotland. It's like, what do you guys do? What? And they've got 10 things, this and that and that. And the amount of things that they love to purchase and give us their stories and why they love it. It fills my cup. It fills some of the down times and the not so happy times with love and joy. So I just want to say thank you for being just the best fans on the planet and supporting all of us, what we do, and we can keep giving more to you with your support. So yeah.
If more of us valued food and cheer and song above hoarded gold, it would be a merrier world.
May the hair on your toes never fall out.
Thank you, Sala Baker, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. I love you.
Yes, we love you too. It's been so much fun, and it's great talking to you. Thank you.
Guys, I will see you both very soon.